Okay, now we're ready to add an accommodation and change its settings. So we're gonna start from the WordPress dashboard. We're gonna go into accommodation and accommodation types. And if you've run the Bellevue installer and you've selected a preset, you will have some accommodations already saved for you. Makes setting it up a lot easier. If you haven't, I encourage you to run the Bellevue theme installer. If you don't want to run that, that's fine too. You can always download these templates from our help site. So inside the apartment preset, which is the one that I selected when I ran the Bellevue installer, it gives me 3 styles. We're going to click on the edit link, and that will take us into editing the settings for the accommodation. Not so much the content right now, but just the settings. So let's go in and click edit, and that's going to open up our edit screen. And here we will be able to edit things like the title, or if you're adding an accommodation type, you can add in a title. You can add in information and data for your accommodation grid options. When we say accommodation grid options, what we're referring to is the grid that shows on your homepage or the showcase of your rooms. So this is called the accommodation grid or the room grid, also known as the room grid. And the information you will see here that is entered in the intro, price, and per price and button text, this is what shows up here. Depending on what style of room grid you choose, there are 2 styles. So if you want to change this content on the room grid or accommodation grid, you will find that information accessible here underneath the accommodations, accommodation types, and the edit button or the edit link. The capacity of the room is important to set. You know, how many adults and children fit into this room. This is where you want to set it. Other information such as views and bed type could be important for your search parameters. This is really important to select if you do have add-ons or services you want to attach to an accommodation. So if you've got a pet fee or parking fee, this is where you would check these to include them for that specific accommodation. We covered adding new services in a previous tutorial. If you haven't, you can add it here. On the right hand side, I highly recommend you add a featured image. The featured image again is going to be used on the grid. So if you don't have a featured image, there won't be anything that shows here. So let's add a featured image and make sure that we can identify and showcase our accommodations nicely with this theme. Then if you want to add amenities and accommodation tags or categories, these are all great ways to organize your accommodations, and also helping with the search. When somebody is searching for an accommodation, they might search for specific amenities or tags. So if you want to use those, this is the time to do it. Once you're done adding the information for your accommodation or editing, click the update button and those changes will be saved. We're going to cover editing the content of an accommodation, the layout, with Elementor in an upcoming tutorial.